Well, let's talk about this little piece of insanity. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about a Stephen King adaptation. Actually, this is an original story, an original script that Stephen King wrote. And he took it to the studios and they bought it and they wanted to make this into a film because in the 80s, but especially in the 90s, a lot of Stephen King adaptations were made. Most famously, 1990's It, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. In 94, The Stand, which was, I know, highly regarded by a lot of fans. Well, this is the first time King worked with Mick Garris. Mick Garris directed The Stand, and Mick Garris directed Critters 2 in 88. Mick Garris was not the first director the studio wanted for this. They actually had a director in mind. Rupert Wainwright was their original choice to direct this film. But King wasn't happy with that choice, and him and Mick Garris got along really well, so he fought for Mick Garris, and the studio let Mick Garris direct this film. Now, this film came out April 10th of 1992. It's an hour and 31 minutes long, had a budget of $15 million, and upon release it made $30.5 million. So this did make some bucks for the studio. And like I said, Stephen King wrote this script. It was an original screenplay by him, not based on any existing property that he wrote. This was just a script that he sat down and wrote, and Mick Garris directed this film. Now, in this film, we have Brian Krause as Charles Brady. We have Macon Amick as Tanya, the sights of his affection, or the one that he really wants to get with, or so we see him at first. And Alice Krieg plays Mary Brady, Charles's ever-loving mother. We'll get into that. This film, up front, I'm going to say, is absolutely batshit crazy if you've never seen it. It's batshit crazy in its tone, which is all over the place for sure, and way over the top, to some just crazy ass shit on screen, and we're going to talk about it. Right out of the gate, we see this crime scene and all these dead cats hanging from this tree. And we get two police officers, one played by Mark Hamill in the cameo, one of many cameos in this film. And they go in the house and they find this drained body. And then we're introduced to Mary and Charles, and they're living in this house in the country. And within the first 10 minutes of this film, we get some incest action. And I'm not bullshitting you. We have a mother and son dancing together, and they start making out and go upstairs together. That's how insane this freaking movie is. My God, I remember seeing this back in the 90s, renting it from the video store in like 93, 94. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? My teenage brain was in overload when I saw this. And then we're introduced to Tanya and her friends at school. And Tanya is our titular virgin in this story. And we come to find out that Charles and his mother Mary are what they call sleepwalkers. Basically these cat-like beings that need to feed every so often to keep them young and powerful. And what they need to feed off of is the energy from a virgin. That's where Tanya comes in. And Brian's new to school because they just moved there from this other community where they killed a bunch of people. And not too long after this, things go awry. Brian kills his one creepy ass teacher on the way home from school because the teacher has him pull over on the way down this highway. He's honking the horn in a very creepy scene. He rips his hand off and he goes, "Here, you want your hand back?" It's a very funny scene. It's over the top as hell. Now, the makeup effects in this film are great. Some of the other effects aren't the greatest, but we'll get into that. And basically, as we go along, Brian's trying to court Tanya to get her to feed on her energy, and so he could pass it on to his mother. And we do get another extended scene of Brian and his mother in bed having sex together. I mean, they go for it. Mick Garris does not pull any punches, and he just shows the incest. So just be warned if you've never seen this film, there is incest in this film. And basically the cops get involved, some crazy ass shit ensues, and the last 10-15 minutes just turns into an out of control, insane bloodbath where the mother goes postal, goes to Tanya's house, tries to kill her parents, kills the deputy, and blood is everywhere. She shoots a vehicle with one bullet, it blows up. That's what kind of over the top shit we're dealing with here. And then we finally get our resolution to the story where these sleepwalkers, cats are dangerous to them. If they scratch them, they start losing energy, and the cats all jump on Mary. Charles is already dead, and she dies in flames, and that's the end of Sleepwalkers. Now, there's a ton of cameos in this film, before I go on to my analysis of this crazy ass film from the early 90s. We got Clive Barker, Tobe Hooper, and Stephen King in one scene together. And it's a pretty funny scene because Stephen King plays this caretaker of the cemetery where this one cop gets killed by Charles. And Clive Barker's like a lab technician, and Tobe Hooper is like in charge of the crime scene, so that's a pretty cool scene. And then we get, well, Ron Perlman's in here as a state police officer. He has more to do than just a cameo. He's in it for about 10 minutes total, probably, and he plays an asshole in this film. Then in another scene, we get John Landis and Joe Dante together as lab techs as well. There's just cameo after cameo in this film. It made me laugh and smile when I saw them. Is this film any good? No. Does that mean you can't have some fun with it? Hell yes, you can definitely have some fun with this. This movie is batshit over the top. I don't know if that's what Stephen King was going for, but the way Mick Garris shoots it, there are moments of seriousness to it, but it's all brought down by the moments of just absolute batshit craziness. There's a part in the film where he goes to the cemetery with Tanya, and he's trying to court her, and it starts off all nice and that, and then they start making out, and Charles gets a little too rough with Tanya, and she fights him off. The cop shows up, and he stabs the cop in the ear, and he turns to Tanya in the car and goes, "Cop kebab, I laughed my ass off." And then there's a scene at Tanya's house when Mary, the mother, comes to get her, that she kills a cop with a corn on the cob. I shit you not, that is a real thing that's in this film, and it's fucking hilarious. I gotta be honest. I laughed my ass off. It's been a while since I've seen this film. I have the Blu-ray. Matter of fact, I'm gonna review Children of the Corn next. I'm gonna watch that tonight, and that'll be out by the end of the week. Hilarious. Over the top. It really, really is. Now, I'll give the acting some credit here. The cameos are great, but Brian Krause does a nice job as Charles. He's charming, he's likable, and then he does turn on the menace right away, but the lines he's given are so cheesy and over the top, you can't help but laugh along with him as he's laughing manically into the camera. I mean, that's how on the nose this shit is going for. Alice Krige is great as Mary. She's intimidating, she's sultry when she needs to be. So she's very good in this film. And Macon Apkin, I think I said her name right, is Tanya. She's good. She's just playing a typical teenage girl. At the end of the film, she screams a lot too much, and she doesn't do a lot to help herself or situation. So she's one of those final girls, but she's nice enough, and so and all the other acting's fine. I guess the main complaint would be the tone is all over the place in this movie. We go from seriousness to, and most of the time it's so heightened over the top that the serious parts seem out of place, actually. Basically, at the end of the day, this is just a creature feature that doesn't take itself too seriously. There's lots of gore. The cat suits themselves or the monster suits themselves are just okay, but the gore effects are really good. I mean, Charles gets stabbed in the eye with a bottle opener. It's really well done. Hands get ripped off, forearms get broken, and bones snap out. All that stuff is really well done. Some of the other effects, the morphing effects, don't hold up that well. They're okay. This is 92, so it's to be forgiven at this point. It's 2021. Effects have improved greatly. But overall, you can have a good time with it. This is definitely a B, cheesy-ass monster film. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. It's not a great film. I think Mick Garris does a decent job with the directing. He keeps the pace moving. It's only an hour and 31 minutes long. And that's probably the right amount of time. If this went on any longer, this movie would overstay its welcome by far. Because even by the end of the runtime now, you're starting to okay, this can wrap up now. I've had fun up to this point, but now I'm just kind of getting tired of this premise because there's not enough here to keep it going, sustain this. And it ends right on what way it should, and the ending's kind of satisfying. But overall, if you're up for a creature feature this Halloween and have never seen Sleepwalkers, I say check it out. It's not a great film, but it's a fun one. There's some decent acting, some cool effects. And what the hell, man? It's an early 90s horror film that doesn't take itself so seriously, and the studio gave him $15 million to go absolutely batshit crazy with this film. So yeah, I would give Sleepwalkers a 6 out of 10. Just because of the fun factor. I don't think it's a great film. I don't even think it's a good film. I just think it's a fun, cheesy monster film. 6 out of 10 for Sleepwalkers. If you've seen this film, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Join me here on my way to 500 subscribers. Share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back at the end of the week with Children of the Corn. And next week, we're going to do John Carpenter's original Halloween, 2008 Halloween, in time for Halloween Kills. I got my tickets. I'm going to see it Thursday night. Can't wait. Until then, bye.